Hey everybody, First Warn 5 meteorologist Melissa Meter, as well as our meteorologist Mike Nico here back with you. We're looking at the second round now, starting to parade along the I-35 corridor at this point. Here is a look at what it looks like, kind of a wide view just to get our bearings. There are several severe thunderstorm warnings that are out there right now at this point, all the way from Ottawa, all the way up towards places of Sheridan County as well. So we're looking at this line right now. This line so far has not been as robust as the first line that has gone through. There has been some quarter-sized hail that has been dropping, but no, it is heavy rainfall, and still small-sized hail could do some damage. So we're going to kind of go area by area, what we're seeing right now. We're going to kind of start off with what's happening to the southwest first, because there is not right now a severe warning for the southwestern area. So we're talking Ottawa right now. I'm going to put a loop on this. Here's a look at what's happening right now in Ottawa. We're going to kind of go up this line. So seeing heavy rain, maybe some spots of some small hail mixing in there from Ottawa back to places like Williamsburg. We then go to our severe thunderstorm warning for portions of the southern end of the metro. I'm going to pause this now. You can see on the kind of northern edge of that warning, the warning itself, that will go until 9:45. Now, right now it is 9:18 on your Tuesday. This does include portions of Cass, Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties, mainly hugging kind of that northern edge of the severe thunderstorm warning at this point. So Gardner seeing heavy rain, Spring Hill. We also have some reports that is, in the Olathe area of hail, small hail, quarter-sized hail at this point. So we know that there has been some confirmation right now of hail falling from this particular storm, specifically near the Olathe area. As we lift that up towards the northeast, still stretching it up towards the 435 loop, Grandview, and then just south of Overland Park. You can see lightning on deck with this one as well. Overall, we've got 60-mile-per-hour winds for this morning, as well as quarter-sized hail. As we kind of go a little bit more towards the north, we are looking at another warning, but I want to take you off because we're going right up kind of that corridor right now. Right up towards the corridor, the eastern side of the metro. Right now, Independence, rain and thunderstorm activity, that warning just in the southeastern side of portions of the suburbs, the Kansas City suburbs towards Raytown. We go up more towards the northeast as we continue to kind of track this line, and then we'll kind of go deep into what's going on in each spot. That way we know what's going on, we'll get our bearings, and then we will take closer looks at what's happening in each specific warning. We then go up towards the north. Here's where the other severe thunderstorm warning is. If we play this out, this has the most lightning. This includes places like Richmond and Hardin, and this specific warning I would assume would go probably to around the same time frame. That would be until 9:45. That does include portions of Ray County, 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. So if you are under a severe thunderstorm warning in any of these areas, we're looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. In comparison to what we saw with the first round, this is looking smaller on the hail side, which is good news. However, the bad news is every time we have hail, that's not great news. So not as large as what we saw earlier in the late kind of early evening hours to around 8:45-ish, but overall, still seeing small quarter-sized hail a possibility and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So now that we've kind of got our bearings going on, let's diagnose what is going on with radar. We're going to take a look at our hail tracker, and I'm going to send it over to Mike, who's got a first look at that hail tracker right now.
Hail tracker, the good news, it's silver, which means, as you've been mentioning, this hail is around a quarter or smaller. It's a radar indicated severe thunderstorm, which is much different than the thunderstorms we had before, where we had ground truth that 3.5 to 4 inch hail fell across the Northland. This does not have that blue color in it right now, which would be a signal for larger hail. But let's kind of give you where we are. 435 and 35. There's K10 going away. So this is coming up just to the south of 35. Moving into the Lenexa, Overland Park, Leawood area. I mean, it's already in Overland Park as it goes all the way down to about 170th Street and all the way back to Olathe. So this is 130. That's 119th there. That's 135th right there. Give you an idea of where we're looking at right here. And this is Antioch Road. And this is going to continue to move over, and eventually it's going to cross over. So let me give you a quick, that just updated. Let me query this, and that means I'm just going to pick a spot where I think some of the hail is biggest, and it's a ½ inch, just a little bit over a ½ inch, and that's good news. So while it may be hailing, it may be very loud at your house, it may scare the kids, the dog or the cat, or any animals that you may have. The good news is that that is not likely to cause any damage out of that. And I'm going to try to zoom on out and see if that's the biggest hail core around. We've got another one that's coming right up the same way around Edgerton, Spring Hill, Gardner, right to the south over Antioch. And again, it's showing very small hail compared to what we had before. And let's look at that one. And that is about nickel size. And again, that's not supposed to cause any damage by our measurements and by what our engineering and physics tells us. But I do want to let you know exactly where this is going, just in case it does pulse up, because this is in an area where the temperatures are still in the 70s. There's still plenty of moisture, and this is racing off to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour, which, look at that, puts it into Missouri City, one of the areas where we saw possibly a funnel cloud earlier. So here, this one's going way ahead. It's on the Missouri side. It's Arrowhead at 9:37. It is right now 9:23. So if you live near that, Centropolis, Independence, Cement City, Riverbend, you have plenty of time to, if you haven't already, bring stuff in, cover stuff, move to the interior room, lowest floor, let this go by, and hopefully it will stay at the hail that it is. Melissa?
I want to get back to looking at the Ray County severe thunderstorm warning right now. As you can see, here's kind of a still image. You can see these are a little bit skinnier overall, not as kind of wide storms that we're seeing with this line, but a lot of lightning has started to kind of pick up. Where we're watching right now for that quarter-sized hail looks to be right towards the east and just right towards the east, even moving into Richmond right now. So if we kind of go street by street, West Main Street to kind of the Richmond downtown and towards Business Highway 10, that's where we're seeing that indication of probably some of that quarter-sized hail. Hail size picking up on radar around 1.1 inch, which is about quarter-sized hail. So quarter-sized hail would be possible right where that core is. And as we zoom out a little bit more, that's moving into the Richmond area within that Ray County severe thunderstorm warning. As Mike had mentioned, these are moving now to the northeast around 35 miles an hour. So I'm going to put a track onto the hail core specifically, zooming out for 35 miles an hour, and then we'll see where this is heading next. But no, a lot of these places at this point, because we are looking at now it turning linear, they're all connected. These places are likely seeing rain, heavy rain right now, but the potential for that hail starts to build as the hail core gets closer to you. So Lincoln School could start to see that possibility of quarter-sized hail by the time about a minute or two goes by at 9:26. It's about 9:25 right now in Lincoln School hail. Once we get to Richmond around same time, right around now or within the next kind of minute or so, including Westward School. We get closer to 9:30, 9:31, moving towards Nutter School, Morton around 9:36, and then Prairie View School kind of at the edge of this is going to be closer to around 9:49 p.m. But I'm looking at many of our tower cams over in the corner of our studio. We know that we have seen some and have heard some confirmation of that small quarter-sized hail, but heavy rain and a lot of lightning has been happening with this line, lighting up the sky. This is in Lawrence looking east. So if we kind of take a look at where specifically that's looking at, if I zoom out, Lawrence looking east, probably seeing the storms that are just on the southeastern side of the 435 loop. So probably seeing, if it's looking toward the east, probably seeing what's happening towards Lee Summit and then that severe thunderstorm warning that is for portions of Ray County. So this line altogether is our secondary batch. We were expecting a line to form of some sort. That's what we're seeing here. It is a thin line along I-35 up to the 435 loop and then carrying from Richmond to Carrollton up and out of our area. But we're looking at a few severe thunderstorm warnings right now at this point in the area for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. Mike?
Okay, so we've got some video from Olathe. Let's take a look at that, and then I'll show you why the hail size is just a little bit smaller This is around 151st and Black Bob, and you can see that hail, thankfully not the kind we saw before. Yes, it's loud. Yes, it's noisy. It could scare you a little bit, but that is not going to cause any damage. Will it knock some of the pebbles off your shingles? Absolutely. Will you find those on the ground or maybe in your drain? Yeah, sure. But that's not the kind of damage that you have to call the insurance agent. As long as the hail stays this size, which is mainly what we're seeing right now, we're going to be doing much better than the Northland did. Now let me show you, this is the winds. And you're seeing the winds going toward the radar, green, and the radar's over here at Pleasant Hill. Winds away is red. So you're seeing rotation, but you're seeing a broad area of rotation. And the broader that rotation is, the less strength it has and the less oomph it has to go up into the sky and carry larger hailstones. Now look down near Gardner. That one looks a little bit tighter. This is one we're going to keep an eye on because this one's spinning a little bit more, which means the updraft is just a little bit stronger, and it could possibly produce some slightly larger hail out of this particular one. And in fact, if I go to the current hail, and let me get rid of this one, which was for the earlier one, and let's go down here and see what kind of hail it's putting out. You can see it is definitely putting out a little bit more hail than this storm that is now moving across the state line from Leawood over towards Grandview, or just north of Grandview, heading towards Raytown, actually. But this one is still putting out, it looks like a little bit bigger hail from Antioch. So that means, let me put a track on this one really quick, because it's going right up over the same area. And the thing about this, you hear us tell you a lot of times, if it goes over the same area, the air's been worked over. That's not the case tonight. We've got what's called a low-level jet coming in. It's just off the surface. It's a fast batch of wind that brings more energy with it, and that's going to continue to feed these storms. So even though they go over the same area, they could be just as strong, if not stronger, like we saw across the Northland earlier. So Bonita at 9:35, Brome Elementary School 9:40, Johnson County Executive Airport at about 9:42, Sunset Ridge Elementary School, Stanley getting close to the southern part of OP around 151st. And Metcalf, if you will, and then Sunrise Point Elementary School. All of these are in the possible path of this next round of hail, which may be, Melissa, just a little bit bigger, but still, it looks like, let me query it real quick, and it looks like it is below severe limits, at least according to the radar right now, which is seen about nickel size. So it's really close to being that quarter size that we look at, that inch hail, for damage to start. So far we're faring much better with these storms than we were earlier with those other storms in the Northland.
Yeah, overall that's good news,
right,
especially as we continue on for the next couple of hours, as we could be watching the potential for them to kind of be hanging out here for a little bit of time. So as you kind of look out of this camera, can somebody remind me please where this is at? You could 435 and Raytown. You could see very heavy rain is falling, likely some ponding on the roadways. You see as they drive past, you can start to see that water picking up behind the tires. That's right around here. What's going on right now, not even into the portions of that yellow and that red of that heavier rainfall potential. So we're looking at that heavy rain. There's still the possibility of quarter-sized hail, which we have already seen a report of, as well as 60-mile-per-hour winds. So those are the two things we're really watching, heavy rain and lightning too. But we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued now for the eastern portions of the metro. So as you can see, it's kind of a continuation of what's kind of been happening down to the south. It's lifting up a little bit more towards the north and kind of outgrowing where the specific severe thunderstorm warning is. So now we've added a severe thunderstorm warning to include portions of Clay and Jackson counties up towards the north. That would be overlapping in the Raytown area towards Independence and the northern side of Liberty. That will go until 10 o'clock. So right now it's 9:31. I assume this is going to be for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. And that is the case, 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. This is moving a little bit faster, around 45 miles per hour. That specific storm that's on the southeastern side of the 435 loop, moving towards Independence right now. So I'm going to go ahead, Mike.
Right?
Yes, moving a little bit faster than the others have. The others have been going between about 35 miles per hour here over the last few hours. And with this line specifically, that's what we've mainly been seeing. But as you can see, what is on the southern edge of that warning in kind of the southeastern corner of that 435 loop, still quiet and dry right now towards Liberty, but this is lifting up pretty quickly to the northeast. So I'm going to put a track on this, see what we're looking at, how quick it's going to be moving to specific portions of the area. But the thing is, some of us are already seeing rain as this line is all in the same spot, moving towards the same place. So even once as you kind of could see waves of that strong wind potential, see waves of that hail potential and heavy rain. So keep that in mind because this is a line now at this point. But if we put a track on this as it lifts up towards the northeast a little bit faster than the others have been going, around 45 miles per hour, and we take it from the core of the storm up towards the northeast. I'll go at least to where the warning will come to an end, but right now it is 9:34, kind of the bulk of that heavy rain moving to Raytown right now. So we just showed one of the cameras from Raytown. You could see water pooling on the roadways and kicking back with cars that are driving. We get to 9:41. It's near Chrysler Stadium. 9:42 in Independence, Cement City around 9:47, and then 9:50, close to 9:50 in Elm Grove School, as well as River Bend in around 9:50. So we're watching this storm too. There are storms towards the north, storms to the south. We're going to be watching with several other severe thunderstorm warnings. Mike?
All right, we were just focusing on the Gardner, Bonita, Spring Hill area, and look what happens. We didn't have the blue. Now the latest scan comes in. We have the blue. The hail size is increasing in the southern and southwestern part of Johnson County, Kansas. This is 35. Olathe is going to be right up here. So an area where the storm just went through with quarter-size hail, it's possible now that it's bigger. It's getting closer to that 1 3/4, getting closer to the golf ball size hail that really starts to do some significant damage. So this is something that caught my eye earlier because I saw the tightening of the winds there. Let's go ahead and take a look at exactly where this one's going, and it's going to go just barely north of where the other one went. So if you live along the I-35 corridor south of K10 and 435, this is coming right, sorry, that's the wrong thing. It's coming right at you. This particular hail, and this is a stronger storm than what we had before when this one was rolling through. So we'll keep an eye on this one. It's going to go right up towards, here's 435, here's K10, here's 35, here's Overland Park, Lenexa, northern part of Overland Park, down here to Olathe. That's where I see the strongest storm as far as hail goes falling right now. So it's moving at about 35 miles per hour. You've got a little bit of time in those areas to bring stuff in and get it covered. But that was interesting to see how quickly that flared up, Melissa. I'm going to take a quick look at the winds once again, and it is still this area right here where we see the tightest circulation. This going away from the radar, this going towards the radar, that counterclockwise spin. If it gets tighter and tighter, then that's when the possibility of a tornado could come down. But right now, thankfully, all these rotating storms, or where we're seeing rotation, are very broad, and they're broad enough that they can only produce about 1.5 inches hail. But we know there is the potential, as we look at what started all this, the tornado watch, it could be apple size, 70 mile per hour straight line winds, still possibly an EF2 or EF3 up to 150 miles per hour. Now that the sun's down, it's not quite as hot, but we've got the low-level jet. So we've got other players in the game right now that are creating this event compared to the event earlier that was much stronger. But this still has the potential to be very strong, Melissa.
Thanks, Mike. I'm looking back at the Jackson and Clay County severe thunderstorm warning. I've been tracking to see if there's any hail that we're starting to see in and around radar. There's only been a few specks. Bear with me because I'm going to zoom in because it is hard to see it. But maybe just towards the north of Arrowhead Stadium, very small radar reading. But also, I would guesstimate this to probably be smaller than quarter-sized hail, specifically in that location. Looks about 0.2, so pretty small hail, anything that would be marble-sized hail. So we're looking at hail, we're looking at that strong wind potential for those specific storms that we've got severe thunderstorm warnings on. But if I put back on the watch and warning, you can see it. I'm going to go back and look at winds because 60-mile-per-hour winds are a possibility too with this strong to severe thunderstorm warning. So when we look at that, Mike had been showing a little bit of those winds as well, storm relative velocity. But even I want to kind of click around. Looks like maybe some of the stronger gusts probably south of Raytown towards Independence, specifically where we're starting to see maybe a little bit more of those darker green colors. But 60-mile-per-hour winds will be a possibility with this storm, especially as it continues to trek up towards the northeast pretty quickly, a little bit faster than the others have been going. Around, I would say, 45 miles an hour. So specifically 11 miles per hour for some velocity here, but we'll watch that potential for those strong winds and that hail. But if you're just joining us now, this is what it looks like out there. There's a lot going on. This is round number 2. We were on for round number 1. There were a few tornado warnings. There were several severe thunderstorm warnings. Very, very large hail did develop earlier this evening and into about 8:30 or so. We saw hail as large as 4 inches. Many hail reports of quarter, 4 inches, softball-sized hail, golf ball-sized hail, baseball-sized hail. So now we're transitioning more to that hail and wind threat with this second line that's ongoing right now. If we play it out, it's a thin line of storms, but they're mainly along I-35, building in from Ottawa, and then lifting through the metro, and then in between about I-35 and I-70. So continuing that kind of linear line, we've got a front that's hanging out right specifically where that line is right now, with 3 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect, one until 9:45. That includes Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties. 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-sized hail are possible. With this specific storm, we have seen confirmed hail of a quarter size. We lift it up towards the northeast. Still the possibility of 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. That includes Clay and Jackson counties. Right now, heaviest rain moving through Independence and eventually down towards Raytown too. That severe thunderstorm warning goes until 10 p.m. Our northern areas also in a severe thunderstorm warning for Ray County. That continues until 9:45, so about 5 more minutes left on that warning. We'll see if they issue it downstream or what the latest information is here in just a few minutes. But that's also for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. As you can see, we're starting to see kind of that heavier rain just outside of the severe warning, so I'll be interested to see what happens. But lighter rain back towards Orick. Richmond's starting to get into that lighter rain, but Hardin seeing heavy rain and that possibility of quarter-sized hail right now. So as we kind of take that look, a wide look, it's our second parade of storms. It's kind of what I've been calling it because they are pretty much training over that same area as what we had earlier on this evening. And with this line, it's going to continue to kind of parade back up towards the northeast here over the next couple of hours. And even if we take a zoomed out look, this is what's going on back towards the west. So I'm going to turn on our different radar so it can look a little bit larger down. I mean, this line, it goes down pretty far, all the way back towards Wichita, down towards Winfield. So we could still keep this parade of kind of a thin band of storms to be moving over the same area. Then that's also when we start to think of that potential for how much rain and could there be that flooding threat. Mike?
Okay, I was just making sure we were taking a look at these thunderstorms. Thankfully, we haven't had a considerable threat on any of these, correct? I haven't seen one. So we're not seeing the big hail producers that we saw before. I did want to let you know that storm that you dissected so well, the one that's moving through Independence, there is pea-sized hail being reported at Highway 24 and Spring Street. That's the main reason I was trying to get your attention, just to let you know that that storm that you were dissecting, that's what's going on. Let me take a look at, again, looking at how these storms are rotating. What are these rotations doing? We've got rotation here. It looks a little broader than it looked last time as this storm that possibly had radar indicated up to 1.5 inches hail. It looks a little broader now. So it's, with it being broader, it's not going to be as strong. Maybe the hail's a little bit smaller, but it is still one of those that we're looking at. And even in these areas up to the east that you've been dissecting, you don't see a lot of rotation out of these storms, especially small rotation, which is good, which is another thing that we're seeing differently from these storms than we did. We really want to see something that is really close. Like, you want this color and this color to be right next to each other. And you're just not seeing that. You're seeing that green way down here. You're seeing that other red 5-6 miles away. And that's how we know it's a much broader circulation, but it's still putting out a little bit of hail. So let me look at that hail one more time, and I'll track it, and I'll send it back to you, Melissa.
Okay.
So here's that hail right there in the southern parts, south central. There's Merlin, there's Ridgeview, there's 151st Street. So now we're starting to get into an area that's more populated. The farther north you go, the more population you're going to run into as this heads up to the northeast at about 35 to 40 miles per hour. Let me query that dark spot right there. And so it's a little over 1.25 inches, so that is severe, and that could possibly cause some damage. So that's why we're keeping an eye on that one. And one last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom on out, put a track on this so you can get an idea of when this potential hail, and look at the other storm. Look at how it's just a little bit north of it. When I put the track on it, you'll see just how it's a little bit north. Hopefully, at some point, we're going to have to look at the temperatures and see what the temperatures are outside, see what side of the cold front this is on, because that is also going to determine how strong the hail and the updrafts could be. So Barron Christian School, 943. It is 943 right now, so the hail should be right there. Johnson County Executive Airport, 946. The Menards there, all those areas, Hobby Lobby B, stay inside if you can. 950 Harmony Elementary School, Oxford Middle School, 951, and eventually by 954 Oxford Park Academy, as this is going to go right through the heart of the southern part of OP. Here's 69, here's Blue Valley Parkway, here's 435, this is Leawood right here, and then the state line would be right over here as I'm walking off the screen. It would be right at the edge of the screen. So it is going to cross over the line and probably head towards Raytown, maybe even Waldo, and those areas. So if you haven't been hit yet, be prepared. This one may be coming for you. Melissa?
Mike, that storm overall tends to look to be the strongest one, at least at this time, specifically as we take a wider look at that kind of realm of what's going on out there now. We're watching what's happening back towards Ottawa and eventually Palmden as well. But back right now, we're looking mainly at the storm that's going through the southern portions of the metro and then lifting up towards the northeast, those severe thunderstorm warnings too. I did want to point out, because Mike had mentioned those temperatures, we're going to take a look at the current temperature right now. Here's inside the kind of 435 loop, still much warmer in Lee Summit and in Grandview, 65 right now in Raytown, and then back towards KCI, a little bit cooler, specifically around 63. But if we take a wider view, we span from 54 to 74 across the area. So still looks like that front's still kind of hanging out that same general vicinity right now, but it's much colder up towards the north in the mid 50s than it is down towards the south. But the south hasn't really necessarily seen a whole bunch of rain and thunderstorm activity as much as the I-35 corridor portions of the metro and up towards the northeast have seen. So we're watching this parade of storms. This is the second round now that we have seen so far today. And it kind of takes that wide view, as I mentioned, all the way from Ottawa, all the way towards places like Sheridan County. So it's along I-35 and in between 35 and 70. All severe thunderstorm warnings at this point are for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. We have seen a few reports of pea-sized hail in places like the Arrowhead Stadium area. That's more specifically into our kind of southeastern counties. So this specifically severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Raytown over towards Independence. But we have also seen quarter-sized hail be confirmed with the storm that is on the southern portion of Overland Park and then lifting up towards Leawood. So these are all moving between about 35, 40 miles an hour, and it will take a few hours to get out of the area. Mike?
Yeah, I'm just dovetailing off what you're talking about. And you showed the temperatures. Let me show where the convergence line is, and it's right there. See that? There's Ottawa, there's Garnett, there's Paola, Olathe. That is the cold front running right through Lee Summit, just to the north of Harrisonville and Pleasant Hill, where the National Weather Service is, and just north of Odessa. So we're looking at Highway Interstate 70 right here, this red line. So this is the area that the storms are going to follow, because that's where the lift is. That's where the cold front is lifting this warm air as it wedges underneath of it and mechanically lifts it up. So this is the cold front. As long as it keeps this slow methodical process going. And as long as there's a low-level jet continuing to feed moisture into it, we're going to continue to have thunderstorms that are going to be on, thankfully right now, the lower end of the severe spectrum. So we're going to continue to watch this. So what you're seeing is when the winds switch to the north in your neighborhood or to the northwest, or when that temperature drops into the 60s, even the mid 60s, let me get in camera here, into the mid 60s, you are at a lesser threat. Where we're still in the 70s, which is what Melissa was showing you, closer to Harrisonville, Warrensburg, and Sedalia, you still have plenty of juice for these storms to come through. So just keep an eye on the winds. There's two things you can do if it makes you feel more comfortable and takes away a little bit of the anxiety. Watch the winds. When they come out of the north, the strongest of the storms are by you. When the temperature starts dropping from the mid 70s to the upper 70s, or upper 60s to the mid 70s, and then that is, again, a sign that things are getting a little bit better and we're not going to have to worry about the severe punch quite as much. All right, so let me take a look at this system. Looks like it's now right on 159th. Oh, that's 151st. 159th would be down here. There's Flum. So there's Black Bob Park, if you know that. Know that a lot. My kids played baseball there a couple of times. So this whole area is the southern part of Overland Park that transitions into Olathe, and this is where we're seeing the strongest hail. In fact, the strongest hail right now is right on Flum from 146th Street down to Windermere Street, over towards Park Hill Street, Oakmont Street, this whole area back to Shannon Lane. This is the area that the heaviest or the strongest or the biggest hail is falling right now. So if we're going to have any damage, it's coming out of this particular area. And just zooming out and looking at any other storms, you don't see blue anywhere. So that is the biggest game in town right now. So let me just take one more look at the velocity, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Melissa.
Okay.
And you can see still a very broad range of rotation in this area. In fact, it looks a little bit broader than before, which would be nice because then the updraft would be a little less strength and the hail size might drop down a lot. But until we confirm that, be ready for 1.5 inches hail. Melissa?
Thanks, Mike. Overall, that specific storm is bringing that potential for the largest hail right now at this point. I did want to put a tracker on that, as Mike had just kind of set us up for that. So by the time we get to about 9:52, keep in mind it's 9:49 right now. So Sunset Ridge Elementary School headed your way to see that potential for some of that hail. And then over towards Martin City, that comes around 10:02 p.m. So we've got about 12 more minutes. Know that heavy rain is likely ongoing in your area, but we're looking at more of that hail core to be moving into your specific town, your city, continuing off towards the east Jeffries around 10:09 p.m. And then eventually that'll be out of that warning and then moving into the other warning too. So we're looking at this storm being, you know, the main, or not, I should not say main, but as the stronger storm right now as it sits. As you can see, this is what it looks like on radar, that hill core being pointed out, as you can see, just south towards the southeastern portion of, or I should say southeast of Olathe. It's going to be lifting off towards the east, closer to the Grandview area by the time we get downstream. So we're looking at these hail cores. We're looking at the potential for some strong winds with these too. We eventually lift towards the north, and we've got more severe warnings that are on deck, mainly in the southeastern portion of the 435 loop. That includes places like Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties, and then up towards the north into portions of Independence and Raytown. There's a little bit of overlap happening. 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail are possible with this kind of section of the storm. And Mike, I was going to ask too, as we're seeing these storms that have been kind of training over the same area, can we take a look at what our possible kind of QPF is right now? And then as we could see the potential for flooding as we go into the next several hours, because unfortunately, once we get done with this round, there is more rain and storms that start to build in once again for closer to late tonight and then into early tomorrow morning. So just getting Mike set up with that. But here it is, the severe thunderstorm warning till 10. That's in Jackson County. And then we lift up towards the northeast, and there's another severe thunderstorm warning. I'll get kind of a wider view because this one is larger. It is very large, actually. It continues for several counties, but Carroll, Sheridan, Lynn, Saline counties, that goes until 10:30. As you can see, a lot of that heavy rain. We're watching some spots for some hail north of Brunswick, as well as a lot of lightning. So still quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. And Mike, can I send it over to you for some of the latest looks?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just reading something from the Weather Service. They're looking at the same thing we are. Water sensors along Indian Creek and Blue River on the Missouri side are looking good as far as the levels. So that is good. And you can clearly see the first track. It started just south of Bonner Springs near DeSoto, went right across Wyandotte County, KCK, the western part, went over the Legends, went over Platte City, went over Lake Wacomas where we had 3.5-inch size hail. And you can see the green spots, that's where we're getting to 1 inch to 2.5 inches. The good news, I do not think the storms are going to make it this far north, not with the cold front down here now, which means the heaviest of the rain is going to be concentrated on areas that didn't have a lot of rain so far, which is Ottawa, Spring Hill, Olathe, Leawood, Overland Park, Lee Summit, Pleasant Hill. This area is going to get the heaviest rain, which hasn't had any rain yet, and that's good news. That means for the worst that may happen out of this is you get the usual low-lying areas that may flood a little bit, roads, parking lots, those kind of things. And most of us are home now anyway. It's 9:53. So hopefully a lot of people are now, except for those doing second shift. Of course, hopefully they know what's going on. But I think really with this track coming this way and staying south of the river and likely maybe staying south of 70, at least the strongest part, flooding's been at the minimum. But as you mentioned, that next batch that comes in, about 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock-ish? That's the one I'm more concerned with that will fall on top of this area and then cause some flooding. Melissa?
To take a look at kind of that round of that second batch of some storms. I'm going to pull it up on a different track here because it's going to start out a little bit closer to what's going on and what's happening right now. So as you can see, this is our future radar, the first Warn 5 future radar. It's almost 10 o'clock. Doing a pretty good job of what's going on, maybe not as far off towards the eastern extent. But this will wrap up once we get to around 2-3 o'clock. But then we may see a brief kind of moment where things are quiet. But once we get back into tomorrow morning's commute, a front's coming back through, and we see more of that rain start to be situated across the area through a wet morning commute on your Wednesday. Keep in mind, some areas, as Micah just showed you, have already seen, 1 to possibly even 3 inches of rain. If we start to see kind of more of that culmination of rain kind of sit over the same specific spots that have seen it earlier, that's where we're looking for that possible flooding potential. But as we look at a wide look right now, that kind of second parading line that we've seen comparatively to the first is in a little bit of a different spot, but not by much, by a couple miles. But even if we look back towards the southwest, you can see there's more headed our way. So an influx of kind of what is rain and storms going along the I-35 corridor and then in between 35 and I-70 as we get toward our northeastern quadrant of the area. There's several severe thunderstorm warnings that are out there now. The strongest severe thunderstorm warning that we've got at this point is our kind of southern side of the metro, and that is for Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties. That continues till 10:15, includes Edgerton and Gardner and the northern portion of Spring Hill, the southern portion of Olathe, and then even over towards Grandview. This specific severe thunderstorm warning has a little bit of that higher hail potential, and we have been seeing that kind of radar indicated from this specific section of the storms here now for the last couple of minutes, but it's ping-pong sized hail, so it's a little bit larger hail comparatively to the other severe thunderstorm warnings we've got in the area. Ping-pong sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Right now, the hail core looks to be a little bit closer to just south Overland Park. So it had started, if you've been with us here for a little bit, it had started and been moving a little bit more towards the southern edge of Olathe. Now it's making its way towards 69 Highway and then north of Stanley, where we're seeing more of that kind of hail core that we're watching. So this right now, if I take off the warning underneath it, I'll be able to query and kind of take a look at what specific size hail radar is indicating. As I mentioned, ping pong size hail is possible. Radar putting out an inch, that's about quarter sized hail. That kind of hail core, or the largest hail size and best probability for hail, starts to get onto that Metcalf Avenue between West 119th and West 143rd Street, where more of that kind of hail core is setting up. Once we take a zoomed out look, know that there are still a few more pockets of hail that we're going to be watching, but by far right now, that hail core that's south of Overland Park and on Metcalf Avenue is where we're going to be watching. But once again, here's a wide look at what's going on. We've got several severe thunderstorm warnings. This is now our round number 2. We're going to be continuing to see this through as we go through the next couple of hours. We're going to wrap up streaming and begin to start KCTV5 News tonight at 10.
Local, live from KCTV5, this is breaking news.
Been tracking a few severe thunderstorm warnings. The strongest storm right now appears to be over Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties right now. That is highlighted in that yellow color. That includes portions of Olathe, Gardner, Spring Hill, Southern Overland Park, Grandview, and Belton. However, new just came out, dropped maybe about 2 minutes ago, is now a flash flood warning. That continues for several more hours, 2:30 a.m. That includes Cass, Jackson, Johnson, and Miami counties. More specifically, we have seen these storms kind of rake over the same area. The first round came through. It was maybe a couple of miles more towards the north. Now we're seeing, this line, another line that's situated back over the area. So looks like anywhere between about a half of an inch to 2 inches of rain have already fallen from this specific sector of the storm. And additionally, we could see another half to 2 inches of rain fall over the same specific area. For that, there is a flash flood warning. Small creeks, streams, rivers are what we're going to be watching. Your roadways, your highways, your bridges, things like that. We know I-35 in through the downtown interchange can get flooded pretty easily. So for things like that, we're going to be watching for that flash flood warning, the flash flood potential, flooding potential as well. So Poor drainage, low-lying areas will all be affected by this heavy rain. And just a few, reminders. I know it's 10 o'clock at night, but if you don't have to be out, please do not do so. And make sure that if you encounter any flooding on the roadways or anywhere you are at, you do not drive through it, you do not go through it, and you turn around. So there's what we're seeing right now with the latest information. This severe thunderstorm warning in particularly has ping-pong sized hail possible and 60-mile-per-hour winds, and the same specific area flash flood warning until 2:30 a.m. So even after this severe thunderstorm warning goes at 10:15, still seeing that prolonged flash flooding event because there is several more rain and thunderstorms building back behind it. Here's a wide look right now. It is from I-35 all the way up towards the southern portions of Kansas City, the 435 loop, and then in between the I-35 and I-70 corridor lifting up towards the northeast. So we've got a few more severe thunderstorm warnings that are up there. I'm going to take a look at that so we get our bearings of what's going on right now. This severe thunderstorm warning also for quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. That continues until 10:30 tonight. As you can see, it's kind of a thin band. What we were seeing earlier was a little bit thicker. So this is a thin area. It's going to kind of rake over here as we go through the next couple of hours. But for Carroll, Lafayette, Ray, and Saline counties, 10:30 p.m., 60-mile-per-hour winds are possible and quarter-sized hail. Mike?
Yeah, I was just looking at the hail. It's about to cross over state line. It's right here, College Boulevard, 435. There's a Gates there. There's a QT there. That area right now is where we're seeing some of the biggest hail fall from this storm. And, Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe because we're seeing smaller hail out of these storms, there's more rain in these storms. And that's why we're seeing higher rain totals, because it has the same amount of moisture. We talked about this the last several days. The air is at its 99th percentile of being full of water, is almost much as it can take. So that's what we're seeing right there. So this is 435 in homes right behind me. You can see how heavy the rain is falling. You can actually, I think you could see some of it ponding right there, and you could see the spray coming up and the people slowing down, have their hazards on. Semi pulled over. That's great. We haven't seen very fast winds out of this, but when it comes down this quickly, it just stands there, and that makes hydroplaning so much more of an issue. Now, this particular scan, the hail has gone down just a little bit, which is good. And, it's really not the hail with this particular system that we're worried about. Let's take a look at the velocities. We've been taking a look at this. This is where it's rotating, and here's the radar back here. So green is toward, and red's away, and you can just see it's just a very big circulation. It's so big that it can't really support large hail. So I think all that stuff that was ice earlier that fell is now liquid, and it's adding up so much higher, and that's why we're seeing that entire area that you just talked about all the way out to here's 470, here's 435 right there. There's 470 as it turns at Lee Summit. So you can see it goes right between there, goes up to Independence. So this covers the Truman Sports Complex, covers Raytown, Waldo, those areas. And so if it's not flooding where you are right now, the rain is coming your way in cycles, and it could continue to add up. And as it does, it's not going to have anywhere to go, and it's going to cause some flooding. Melissa?
I wanted to take a look at the storm that's up towards the northwest right now. A large kind of span of what's going on. Right now, though, still looks to be the strongest storm that we're watching is the one that Mike had just mentioned. I want to turn off our radar, take a look at the hail potential we're watching with these. As I mentioned, this specific storm is warned for that quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So right now, they're really the kind of hot spot we're watching is just west of Carrollton. If we zoom in for the possibility of that kind of hail being the largest in that specific system, just west of Carrollton, north of WB Junction. I am going to take a look at the size of hail that this is trying to put out. I'm going to take off our watch and warning, so I'll be able to take a closer look at that specific amount, about 1.5 size. So quarter size or a little bit bigger, closer to that ping pong ball size could be possible. Moving through right now, specifically in this warned area, looks to be the kind of strongest signal that we are seeing for hail. So even if I take a closer look, that's at State Highway E. just north, and it looks like State Highway E will eventually turn into West Benton Street. That's in Carrollton. So with this moving a little bit more towards the northeast, as you can see out ahead of that, there still is that maybe some small hail quarter-sized or slower. And then lifting up towards Bosworth, seeing maybe some small hail as well. So that is the specific warning that's up towards the northwest right now. But as we had mentioned, we're watching closely to the storm that's more on the southern portion of the Kansas City metro.
As long as it doesn't break through. Do you think it's going to break through?
There.
Oh, no.
Hey, did you see that? Large hail smashing into homes, cars, and property all across the area, leaving behind a lot of damage in some spots. Look at all the pictures you sent in during tonight's storm. This is just a few of them. We just don't see hailstones this big and damage this bad very often. And look at what was falling in some parts in the Northland. Enrique Aguiar sent us this picture of a hailstone about the size of a baseball. And we've seen a lot of pictures of hail just as big as this one. And when hailstones get that big, they cause a lot of damage. Look at the car with its back window smashed in. Then on top of that, it's pouring rain, so all of that water is getting inside as well. This was in Parkville earlier. We expect body shops and roofers to be busy for weeks to come. And here's another look at just how hard the hail was coming down earlier today. This is video from Lake Wacomas. Look at the hail hitting the water there and the splash that each one of those hailstones makes. Just hoping the boats out there aren't badly damaged. Now, some people were in their cars when the hail started coming down. KCTV5's Betsy Webster talked to one woman about her quick thinking during the storm.
We're near 45 Highway and Clam Drive in Parkville. That's just a little west of I-29. All up and down this street, people's cars look like this Challenger here. Not just dings from the hail, but holes, giant holes in here. They say the hail was the size of baseballs. They have never experienced anything like it. The owner of that Challenger had actually just pulled up to her house. She was in this pickup truck, her daughter in another car. When the hail started coming, they sat in their cars for 20 minutes, said, "No way am I getting out now."
I just hear them coming, boom, boom. So I call my husband and I'm like, what do I do? And then right when I said that, one cracked the windshield and he's like, jump in the back seat. Because I was like, is it going to come through the windshield? So I was like, let me jump in the back seat. So I jumped in the back seat, but I was really scared.
I go to the back deck and I'm seeing balls the size of my fist just falling against the deck and exploding out everywhere.
That woman you just heard from owns this car. You can see the photos she showed us, 6 holes in her rear window, and that's why instead of just a few bags, she's got an entire tarp over her car. No comprehensive insurance, definitely not excited about this, but saying, just like everyone else, that this is nothing they've ever experienced before. In Parkville, Betsy Webster, KCTV5 News.
Incredible hail damage, and when severe weather strikes, turn to KCTV5 Plus. We'll track the storms as they move through the area, even if we're not on TV. You can download the KCTV5 Plus app now on Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. Breaking now, one person is dead after a shooting near 55th and Chestnut in Kansas City. That's just east of 71 Highway. Police say they were called to the area just before 6 this evening. They are still investigating what happened before the shots were fired, and they tell KCTV5 that they have not made any arrests so far. Also developing tonight, after a year of debate in Leavenworth, Core Civic has been given the green light to reopen its prison, which will hold people arrested by ICE. Just hours ago, the City Commission approved the jail's special use permit. KCTV5's Chandler Watkins was there as opponents reacted.
Ahead of the meeting, there was a line out the door for those looking to sit in and sign up to speak. In front of City Hall was a rally against Core Civic reopening its facility. Inside, dozens spoke during public comment, which was limited to an hour. A majority urged commissioners to vote no.
It will be your fault when people die at this facility.
Some in the crowd were disruptive and escorted out. Leavenworth police confirm one person was arrested. The commission voted 4-1 to approve the permit, with Mayor Pro Tem Rebecca Hollister again being the low-known vote. After the vote, audience members voiced their frustrations, which resulted in the council chambers being cleared.
Justice, die!
A crowd formed outside, angry at the permit approval. Activists, Leavenworth residents, and more spoke, expressing disappointment, saying they will fight this.
Stay involved. Don't forget about this issue. Don't forget about this vote. Don't forget that the city commission chose money over humans.
And we will watch this facility like a hawk. At the first sign of infraction, we unleash whatever oversight we can achieve to shut this place down.
Reporting in Leavenworth, Chandler Watkins, KCTV 5 News.
After the vote, CoreCivic thanked Leavenworth city leaders for working with them. And in a statement, they say CoreCivic remains committed to operating a safe, transparent, and accountable facility. We look forward to our continued partnership with the city and to the benefits the MRRRC will bring to Leavenworth and the surrounding communities. So when will the first ICE detainees arrive? CoreCivic says that's up to the federal government. All right, let's get back to weather. First Warn 5 meteorologists Melissa Meter and Mike Nico are tracking storms and the chances of flash flooding.
We've got new updates in as of right now. A new severe thunderstorm warning is now in effect for portions of southeastern side of the 435 loop and in the metro. That does include Jackson County. It continues until 10:45. More specifically, we're going to kind of take a closer look at what's going on in this area. This is mainly, I know it starts to get a little bit challenging to see when there's a lot on the screen, but as you can see, lighter rain up towards Kansas City, downtown, further south, closer to Raytown, heavier rain starting to pick up, and we're watching the potential for that kind of quarter-sized hail. More specifically, if we zoom in on where that is, right now it looks to be crossing over the 435 loop south of Raytown, along Highway 71, towards the eastern side of Dotson and Flint. So zooming in on this, you can see 435, if you live between 435 and then 470 in portions of Jackson County, could see the potential for some hail. If I had to guess, this is probably going to be around quarter-sized hail that this is going to try to query. The possibility of around half-size radars trying to pick up. I would say probably when we think about that size, half-size to about an inch is around a quarter-sized hailstone, and a little bit smaller would probably be around nickel to penny size. So that's mainly Jefferson Street towards the 435 eastern edge, 470. And if we take a wider look out, this specific storm, as I mentioned, generally on the southern half of the 435 loop, at least the bulk of the heavy rain and that hail probability is there too. You can see that hail core right there, highlighted in that kind of lighter gray color just west of Raytown. So that's the new severe thunderstorm warning. I can put a track back on where we were looking at that hail kind of core right now at this time, but overall, that's going to be headed towards Little Blue, Unity Village. This is still moving around 35, 40 miles an hour. So if we kind of track that out towards the northeast, that's moving to Knobtown around 10:18. So right now it's 10:14, so about 4 minutes. Know that likely you have rain and thunderstorms right now, but more of that probability to see hail starts to occur closer to the next 3 minutes or so, around 10:18. Little Blue, 10:21. Independence Event Center, 10:28. East Kansas City, closer to around 10:39. Keep in mind right now it is 10:15. So these moving 35, 40 miles an hour right now. You can see a lot of heavy rain is falling out towards the cameras that are on the right side of your screen, ponding on the roadways on the lower portion of your screen. That's the scout camera. You can see rain, obviously a lot of rainfall falling, and then it being picked up by the backside of the wheels of those cars. Looks like a lot of it is ponding on the roadway too. That is at 435 and 104th Street. If you look on top of that, that is also our First Warn 5 weather tracker out on 635 South. So we're going to be watching the roadways too. Of course, with the heavy rain, there is one flash flood warning. Right now, I want to get you back over to that specific storm itself. That's on the southwestern to around south central side of the metro. As you can see, it's highlighted in that darker red color, continuing into 2:30 a.m. In that specific area, there is a severe thunderstorm warning, and now it's really catching my eye what's happening back towards Edgerton with a lot of lightning, a little bit of some reflectivity that we're monitoring for hail. So let's take a closer look at that specifically. I'm going to turn the lightning off so we can get a clearer picture of what's going on. You can see back towards Edgerton, just south of Edgerton, east of Gardner, looks like there could be some hail at this point. Reminder that this specific storm could see ping-pong sized hail. So out of all the severe thunderstorm warnings that we've got right now, this has the highest threat of hail. So if I turn off the watch warning, the sweeping radar, and add back on to that hail threat, we'll get a closer look at the possibility of how large that hail could be. Not seeing really bright blues, what we saw earlier. Of course, earlier reports were as high as 4 inches of hail, but what we're looking at here is probably around 1 1/4, I would think, around 1, 2, and that blue color still around 1 inch, which is about quarter-sized hail. If we zoom in, try to get some cross streets going on, that's specifically in Antioch at South Gardner Road and then West 23rd Street. We started to pick up 2 on this latest run. Looks like a little bit, 1.1, so it has maybe grown a little bit in size. Possibly 1 1/4 inch hail possible right now, crossing over that South Gardner Road right now, heading towards West 23rd Street, moving towards Spring Hill. So if you're in Antioch and you're hearing hail, and here's a reminder with hail as well, we're looking at ping-pong size to quarter-sized hail. You're going to want to make sure you're getting away from your windows. When we saw earlier today, very, very large hail, golf ball to even baseball sized hail, softball sized hail, those could break windows. Make sure you are still in the interior part of your room. Treat it kind of like as what we would for a tornado warning, but make sure you're getting into the most interior part of your room. Doesn't have to necessarily be on the lowest level, though, when we think about the difference between a tornado warning and a severe thunderstorm warning that has hail. Mike, can I send it over to you?
Yeah, please. I'm looking downstream.
Yes.
I know most of the activities here, but I wanted to talk to you folks in Anderson County and also just north of you up in Ottawa and Richmond. There's a little bit of a bow developing on this line. Now, that could be faster straight line winds that are going to push through Westphalia, Richmond, Garnett, the Colony. No warning yet, just something that I'm seeing that we're going to keep an eye on, because anytime that line bows out, that usually means there's faster winds. So I've kind of been looking at the velocities with this one just to get an idea. And you can see around Waverly, we have some of the fastest winds. We've got broad circulation once again, nothing too tight, so it doesn't look like a spin up is going to happen. But when these things bow out, we always look at the northern part of it because this is moving faster, and that will create a little bit of a circulation. That's exactly what happened Friday night. Not saying it's going to happen with this one, but it's something that just caught my eye. I wanted to let you know and wanted to make sure that you knew that we were watching this entire line from the east side all the way to the west side. This thing covers our entire viewing area from southwest to northeast. And the other thing that's really concerning me is this is not moving. And that's why we're switching over to smaller hail and more of a flood threat out of this system. But I'll keep an eye on that for you, Melissa, and I'll let you know if anything changes with that.
As we look down toward the southwest, that stuff's going to be lifting up here towards, the northeast shortly. Another interesting thing about this specific line we're seeing is that it's very thin. Sometimes when we see lines of storms, they tend to be very large, maybe 15, 20 miles across. Specifically what we're looking at for that kind of width of where that kind of severe thunderstorm is set up and kind of lengthening out. And before I kind of start diagnosing radar once again, I want to get out to our Betsy Webster in the First Warn 5 weather tracker. Betsy, where are you right now?
Yeah, we're on I-35. We just got off of 635 because, as you saw earlier, just a little while ago, we were up in Parkville. So we're now heading south on 35. The rain is still pretty light where we are. As you can see, we're approaching the exits for Shawnee, but boy, oh boy, look at that. We are seeing a light show. A lot of lightning. We're seeing some of the cloud to cloud lightning. We're seeing some of those bolts of cloud to ground lightning. And listening to what you guys were saying back in the studio, I think we may be getting into some heavy rain soon. You know, we were out here tracking storms on Friday, and at that time, there were not a lot of people on the road. There are a lot of people on the road now. And now might be a good time as you're watching this light show ahead of us and talking about the hail that we could expect, to let folks know that if they are driving on the highway and they encounter hail coming down, do not pull under an overpass to take cover from that hail. Yes, there'll be damage to your car, but when you park under those overpasses, there are a lot of other people who seem to also think it's a brilliant idea. Cars pile up, and that's when you can get rear-ended. So we're going to keep driving. We're going to keep our shot up so you guys can keep an eye on things as we continue to head south on I-35, and we'll give you guys a heads up in case you can't see the picture at all times about when we start encountering that heavy rain.
Thanks, Betsy. You're totally right with the intra-cloud lightning, cloud to ground, kind of what we've been watching. As you can see, there is a whole lot of lightning on this kind of thin line of storms that have been undergoing. But I wanted to kind of reset kind of what's going on out there right now. Mainly what we're watching is several severe thunderstorm warnings moving through the area, parading along I-35 and then in between the kind of corridors of 35 and I-29. We zoom out. That's what it looks like. We still have rain and storms building back from the western area. As you can see, out of our area, going to be drifting up towards the northeast too. So we are not done as we go on with this line of storms. But we know that the possibility of quarter-sized hail to ping-pong-sized hail, gusty winds are possible, but we are also monitoring the potential for flooding. There is a flash flood warning that is in effect until 2:30 a.m. That is highlighted in this red kind of darker maroon box. They approximate anywhere between about 1/2 to 2 inches of rain have already fallen in this. This does include portions of the southern part of the metro, so please keep that in mind. And additionally, we could see another 1/2 inch to 2 inches fall over the same exact area. So please be very, very careful on the roadways. I mean, we're seeing off towards the right of your screen where there's ponding on the roadways, but make sure you are always taking that safety protocol, especially when we think about flooding. You know, you never know how deep that water is. You don't know where the ground is underneath the water. Make sure you are turning around, whether you are walking, whether you are driving, or whatever you may be doing. So know that flash flood warning is still in effect until 2:30 a.m. I wanted to look back at the severe thunderstorm warning again because, one, there's a whole lot of lightning happening, but two, we're looking back on the southern edge of that warning for more of that threat of hail once again. That's mainly, if we take the warnings off, we zoom in Spring Hill, that's where we're starting to see more of that hail core, and then back west of Loch Lloyd. So I'm going to go talk about Spring Hill first, diagnose where this specifically is, and then get closer to Loch Lloyd. But Spring Hill, south of Gardner, closer to the kind of west 199th Street and west 223rd Street, seeing more of that kind of pocket of hail show up. It has the possibility to be ping-pong sized right now, just a little bit larger than a quarter looks to be possible from our radar indications. Mike, have you seen any reports of hail lately?
Just inch and a quarter is mainly what I'm seeing. Actually, what I'm doing right now is looking at some creeks and streams over on the Missouri side, if I can tell you about those real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just seeing a few of them that are above normal. Not seeing any flooding. It's just above normal, kind of caught my eye. I'm seeing Little Blue River near Lake City. That's in Jackson. That's a little bit above normal. I'm also seeing, let me click on this one, Little Blue River near Lake City. I mentioned that one. Let's take a look at this one. Blue River at Kansas City. That's down just south of, getting south of looks like Grandview, that area. So those are just kind of, they're above normal. They're not flooding right now, but we do have that flood warning out there. And a lot of that has to do with streets and eventually creeks and streams. It takes a while for all that rain that's on the streets and the parking lots to get in those creeks. And that's why the flood warning is going until 2:30 in the morning, possibly well after this round finally moves through. So that kind of caught my eye. And I see you've got the hail up there.
Yep.
It's going, this will be the third round that goes across these neighborhoods. Tell us more about that.
So as I mentioned, we took a closer look inside this specific hail core that's between about 199th and west 223rd Street, south of Gardner, west of Spring Hill. An 1.25 inch hail size. We have seen some reports of 1.25 inch hail size too. So keep that in mind. We just got a latest update, kind of move it towards the east. Now moving into Ochiltree, the northern side, or I should say the southwestern side of Bonita. And then this is going to be tracking off towards the northeast still. If we look more towards the northeast, up towards Stanley, you can see as we get towards the southeastern side and the southern side of the metro, south of Leawood, south of 435, Stanley, New Santa Fe, Martin City, Red Bridge, starting to see more of this gray coloring. The potential, I would assume, is probably closer to 1/4 inch of hail, if I had to guess, based on the coloring, around 1/2 inch. So we're looking around, penny size to around quarter size hail possible falling in Stanley, New Santa Fe, Martin City, Red Bridge. Once we zoom out, it's going to be heading towards places like Grandview, Hickman Mills, just south of Leawood, south of Dodson, but eventually making its way over to Unity Village. Looks like we just got a latest scan in. It is a little bit brighter blue, so New Santa Fe looks to have maybe kind of the higher probability right now of that larger hail, closer to around 1/4. So anywhere in this area, I do think the possibility of hail falling will be between about penny-sized and quarter-sized hail.
Hey, give you a breather real quick. Yeah. I just found the creeks and streams in Kansas. And the only one that I see is a little bit above average is in Johnson County. It's the Little Bull Creek near Spring Hill. It's a little bit above normal. That's the only one I'm seeing. We'll keep an eye on that. That's coming from the USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey. So we found their site, found their gauges, and we're doing okay so far. So this is more likely probably an urban event as far as the flooding goes, but we'll keep an eye on that for you. Just wanted to let you know I found those two and we're looking okay.
Thanks, Mike. That's good news, too. Of course, we've got several more hours now. The continuation of rain and thunderstorms. Tracking right now, we had round number 1 that came through the area. That was a little bit earlier, between about 5:45 and closer to around, I would say, almost 9 o'clock. Now we're in round number 2. It is just a few miles south of where round number 1 set up, but we have yet another round that's going to come in later, likely after this round moves out over the next couple of hours. The next round would come closer to 3-4 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, continuing through the morning commute. So we've got not only this, but another batch of rain that is expected to move through the area. So that would make 3 batches. So we've got a wide look. This is, once again, getting our bearings across the area from Ottawa all the way up to our eastern counties, tracking along the I-35 corridor on the southern part of the metro. If you look out to the west, there's still more rain that's on the way. You can see it's back building, going all the way down to Emporia and back towards El Dorado on 35. So we could see several more hours of this kind of hanging out and flowing up northeast around 30, 40 miles an hour. So we're watching the potential that's moving in, what's going on right now, specifically because we've got several warnings. So let's go back, talk a little bit about these warnings that we've got going on. As I'd mentioned, we have the severe thunderstorm warning and the flash flood warning that does include portions of Jackson, Johnson counties. I'm going to highlight that first, Cass County and Miami County. That goes until 2:30 a.m. 1/2 inch to 2 inches of rain likely have already fallen, with additional amounts of 1/2 inch to 2 inches possible. So overall, we're looking on the high end of possibly around 4 or 5 inches of rain could be possible if we think on that higher end. Flash flood warning continues in 2:30. We're talking creeks and streams, urban areas. We're all going to be watching. We know a lot of this area, portions of the metro have a little bit more concrete, not as much grass area as others. So that's something we're going to watch into the night and even into tomorrow morning. There is that severe thunderstorm warning inside the cell, or in that same spot as well, I should say. That is for Johnson and Miami counties till 10:45, so about 15 more minutes. But that's where we're seeing probably the greatest probability, greatest chance to see some of that hail core, as you can see east of Spring Hill. So I'm going to take off our radar, take off our lightning, and take a look once again at where we could be seeing the largest hail. And right now, north of Spring Hill, towards Osheltree, Bonita, likely around a quarter size to 1.25 inches. We lift it up towards the northeast. And then we're talking mainly Martin City, Redbridge, Stanley, just east of Stanley, starting to see that possibility of quarter-sized hail too. I am getting word that our Betsy Webster is starting to encounter a little bit more heavier rain. To get a clearer picture, we're going to send it over to Betsy.
Hi there, we are on 69 South and we are approaching 135th Street. And as you can see, we are now approaching 151st Street. I looked down at my phone for a second and time went by. We are in Overland Park still, and now it is, yep, there's the 135th Street exit. I'm correcting the photographer who's driving. His eyes are on the road, and it is hard to see those exit signs because the rain is coming down so heavily. And we are starting to see it pooling on the highway. You can see that water down there. And Kenny, let me ask you, Kenny is the photographer who's driving. Have you felt any of that under your tires yet?
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it. It's pretty thick on the road right now.
Yeah, you can feel it under the tires that it's very thick on the road. We haven't hit any really deep patches where we kind of feel that sort of pull where you might be hydroplaning, but there definitely is quite a bit of rain starting to accumulate on the roads, and it is affecting visibility. We're now getting further south into Overland Park a little later into the evening, so as you can see, not a lot of traffic on the road right now, which is a good thing. We'll keep going south. You guys, let me ask you back in the Weather Center, should we continue heading into Miami County? Are we going to see some more activity down there?
I think as you get closer south of Miami County, still that heavier rain out there, but more of that hail possibility a little bit closer to southern Johnson County and along the southern part of 435 closer to Grandview.
All right, well, we will continue checking out this way. We may circle back around and head towards Grandview to see what we experience and if we encounter any hail.
Thanks, Betsy.
New warning out there. Did you see that one?
There is just a new one.
There's a new warning just came out. I'll let you find it on the radar. I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's northern Miami County, southern Johnson County, northwestern Cass, and Jackson County. So this goes from the Kansas side over to the Missouri side. It is until 11 o'clock. Okay. It's radar indicated 1-inch hail, and wind gusts aren't going to be an issue. They'll be less than 50 miles per hour. So it's a small hailer.
Small hail, and it looks to be kind of a continuation of the severe thunderstorm warning that's up towards the north, kind of creeping down a little bit further south and then lifting over towards the east. So as you can see, kind of taking a little bit more of a southerly track here. I do want to get back to you about the specific reports we have just seen. I had talked about Grandview, the kind of Grandview triangle. Reports of ping-pong-sized hail have come out of that. So there is ping-pong-sized hail that has been confirmed. The two areas that we are watching now, if I kind of take a closer look down towards Spring Hill, in that Grandview triangle area, it's hard to see. It's this lighter gray color, starting to see maybe some spots of blue in southern portions of Johnson County, and then lighter kind of colors of gray just north of Grandview. But we know that we've had confirmed reports of ping-pong-sized hail. So make sure, you're staying away from windows and things like that for one, but a lot of heavy rain is also coming with this. Heavy rain, a lot of lightning, as Betsy had mentioned, you saw on Betsy's camera. driving through or in the First Warn 5 weather tracker. So if we zoom in once again on where the hail is mainly situated, it's off east now of Spring Hill between Stillwell, south of Morse, Stanley, and right now radar indicating around quarter-sized hail. If we move up towards the northeast, the Grandview Triangle, where we had just seen some reports of our ping-pong-sized hail, looks maybe not as robust as it once was, as I was zooming in a little bit closer for you, but now closer probably to around quarter-sized hail, at least radar indicated. Know that there still is the possibility for some ping-pong-sized hail to mix in there, especially as we have already gotten confirmation of that. Downstream, headed towards places like Unity Village, and it looks like Betsy's coming into some hail too.
Yeah, guys, we are coming into some hail. You can hear it dinging on our vehicle on the First Warn 5 mobile weather tracker. I'm looking on the ground out the window and I don't see anything accumulating yet. It appears to be, as it's hitting our windshield, a pea-sized hail, so certainly nothing like we saw in the Northland earlier today.
Thanks, Betsy.
But you can...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, but I was saying that you can hear it. At this point, we can hear it more than we can see it.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yep. Thank you, Betsy. We're looking...
Right.
I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry. Okay. So we're looking now kind of at that wide view. Overall, main severe thunderstorm warning is right now in the southern portions of the metro. We're likely seeing this severe thunderstorm warning lifting off towards the northeast. What we've got coming back now behind this kind of line, this inflow of line we've been seeing now for close to, it's been around 9:15 it probably started up. So over an hour now, as we had mentioned, raking kind of over the same area over and over and over again leads that potential for, one, the flash flood, and also for flooding potential. There is that flash flood warning for portions of the southern kind of counties of the metro until 2:30, but this is a wide, very long kind of line we're seeing. It's across the entirety of the area, but even back towards the west, Topeka, Emporia, Madison, still seeing rain and storms and starting to get maybe a little bit more robust of storms building into the southwestern counties. Ottawa, Garnett, going to start to get into some heavy rain here soon. So we've got a lot still going on radar. Mike and I are going to continue to be here through this event.
What the good news, if I can jump in real
go
quick,
ahead.
Give you a breather there. You're doing a great job again. We're seeing this thing start to move, right? So that's the good news. Even though this is bowing out, and we're going to see some faster winds there, and that's exactly kind of what we're looking here with the hail and faster winds from Raymore through Belton, almost down to Drexel. We are seeing it start to move, especially the back end of it. And if we can get that to come through, that's going to be the one that comes through over the next several hours that could put down the heaviest of the rain and exacerbate what we're seeing right now if it continues to follow this line. But at least we're seeing a little bit of a push down to the south. This is not severe. There's small hail coming out of this. Still, the only thing in town is what's crossing over and heading into Missouri right now that you've been tracking. But just thought I'd try to bring you a little bit of good news. We know the counties up to our northwest are out of the warning, and if we can get this to start to slide down, or the watch I should say, we can start to take away a few more counties. So we're keeping an eye on those winds. Remember, this is the thing to look for. If your winds are coming out of the north, you are out of the severe weather threat. If your temperature is dropping from the humid mid-70s down into the 60s, you're likely out of the severe threat. That's something you can look at on your own. But just a little bit of good news there to say that, hey, maybe this thing's starting to move, but until it does, we're going to stay here and track it for you.
And as a reminder, too, we've got that tornado watch that's in effect until midnight tonight, highlighted in these green counties. If we go back and think about the hazards that were first established with those, we had that 70-mile-per-hour winds, that tornado, stronger tornadoes between EF2, EF3, and apple-sized hail. Of course, the main threat we've been seeing through the entirety of this event so far has been the very large hail. Luckily, with this second round, has not been as large hail. Many reports of ping-pong to quarter to even pea-sized hail, but that is very different than softball to tennis ball sized hail, which we saw earlier on today. So I did want to kind of get you a look at what we could see here over the next couple of hours as we keep possibly talking about that other round that's going to be mixing in and moving in. So I wanted to at least show you what that could look like, because as this line moves through, you saw what's moving in from the west into portions of western Kansas. So this is kind of what that could look like. Right now it's almost 11 o'clock. We've got that linear line of storms. I don't necessarily think this model is doing the best job at showing what's currently happening, but we know that there's that line that's across our area and storms are starting to build back from the west. That's going to kind of push them out by the time 2-3 o'clock comes around tomorrow morning. We may get a little bit of a break. However, we then start to see what comes in again later on in the morning, which is going to be some more widespread rain and thunderstorm activity, which could add portions of some areas may see heavy rain again, which could add to that flooding potential through the night and into the morning commute on your Wednesday. We finally look to start to dry out closer to around noon on Wednesday. Mike?
Yeah, I found some new information. As I talked about, I was watching the USGS sites for our creeks and streams, and Tomahawk Creek has a reputation of overflowing its banks before other ones, and right now it is at its highest level before flooding. It's extremely above average, which is the top level before something could possibly start overflowing its banks. So I just wanted to give you an idea. If you're near Tomahawk Creek, this gauge is just on the west side in Kansas on the state line, a couple of miles. That would put it, in Leawood down in that area. So this is what we're looking at. I just wanted to let you know that we're keeping an eye on Tomahawk Creek. It is the one that is rising the fastest right now. I'm looking over at the Missouri ones. We're still doing okay over here. But if you look at the radar behind me, and let me stop that, this is the general area. So you can see the heaviest of the rain coming down right now around that area. Here's state lines. So we're looking back over here more in this area where the heaviest of the rain is coming down right now. So this may be something I'm going to keep an eye on for you. If you live near Tomahawk Creek, keep an eye on that over the next several hours. It's the fastest rising creek. It's at extremely above average right now. If it starts to flood, I'll come back and let you know. Back to you, Melissa.
Kind of about the storms that are off towards the west, trying to push the storms that are currently ongoing south of the metro to kind of give a little bit of a kick to be moving on out. But by moving on out, I'm really meaning I'm moving a little bit more towards the northeast. So as you can see towards the western side, the western kind of counties starting to see more of that rain, not specifically from the southwest, but also our northern county is going to see some light rain with this round too. But heaviest rain and the possibility of some small hail still down towards the south along our southern counties. That's coming in a little bit faster, pushing the line that we've been seeing be pretty stagnant here over the last hour and a half, 2 hours now, and then it eventually will be pushing it on out. And by on out, I mean further downstream. But the severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for portions of Cass, Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties. That continues until about 11 p.m. Right now it's 10:45. So we're looking at ping-pong sized hail. We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds and heavy rainfall too, because we also have that flash flood warning that's in effect for essentially the same exact area that goes from Paola over to Olathe, the southern portions of the metro, and then back towards Lee Summit. So we're looking at the potential for heavy rain. We're looking at the potential for ping-pong sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. I want to take a look to kind of diagnose where we're starting to see again maybe some pockets of some hail, more specifically now still in the Grandview area, Loch Lloyd, same kind of area we've been watching because these storms have been pretty stationary over the last kind of hour and a half. So raking over the area, bringing that heavy rain, but also any place that's starting to get a little bit of a hail core kind of hanging out in the same exact area. So Loch Lloyd, Grandview. In this specific area, we have seen confirmed hail size of around ping-pong size, which does then, of course, back up the warning that is in place. But around about maybe penny to quarter-sized hail, probably a possibility falling in places between Loch Lloyd and Grandview. We zoom in, Grandview over towards Martin City, New Santa Fe, Redbridge, Reddle, and then moving into Belvedere, lifting up towards the northeast, heading towards Unity Village and Lee Summit. So we're keeping an eye on that storm now. Also going to keep an eye on maybe what's happening towards Oak Grove. If we take a closer look at that too, possibly seeing some maybe quarter-sized hail to 1.25 inches closer to Oak Grove, Bay City, and Wellington. Mike?
You know, I've been watching that bow down to the south.
Yep.
This is it. This is Edgerton. This is Spring Hill. This is Johnson County. That's Douglas County. We're looking at Franklin County here. Look at this. We're seeing velocity of at least 58 miles per hour out of this this brighter green moving into Lane. So we may have a little bit of a gust front here in 58 miles per hour would be severe threshold triggering. So keep an eye in Lane, Osawatomie, Paola, Spring Hill, this whole Miami County area, Fontana. You've got a really stout storm coming in here right now. Let me show you it on radar, and you can see it bowing out right here. So when that comes through, that's going to bring some pretty hefty wind. Something we'll keep an eye on. I've been watching Slack for the Weather Service. Let me check it once again. They have a special weather statement out for gusts up to 40 miles per hour. The entire thing itself is moving to the east at 50. I think just by looking at that radar, the winds may be a little bit faster than 40 if those winds can translate down to the ground, which they more than likely will do with this rain pulling that colder, faster air from above down to the ground. So keep an eye on that. I'll continue to keep an eye on that. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, even up towards the north where it's not bowing, but some of the areas to the north have not seen any precipitation today. You may be thinking in the metro, you know, we've seen a lot. We've seen now 2 rounds, now possibly a third moving in. And once we start to see this line be pushed up towards the northeast and more of that widespread rain starting to build back behind it. But right now, even if you take a look at it, the strongest portion of that's down towards the south, Ottawa, Garnett to Lone Elm, where Mike and I had mentioned there is a special weather statement. Gusts of 40 miles an hour possible, but we're seeing maybe some indications of that being higher. So some gusty winds starting to build in, probably getting closer to Paola and then eventually towards Lacine. So still that severe thunderstorm warning for portions of our southern areas. That continues until 11. In that also is that flash flood warning till 2:30. We've seen heavy rain rake over the area. We have seen now several confirmations of ping-pong sized hail, 1.25 inches. That still is a possibility with this warning until 11 p.m. Cass, Jackson, Johnson, Miami counties all included. So once again, we're getting, a look at where the hail is. Hail cores are more towards still in that same spot as it hasn't really been pushed. We're waiting for that, kind of push we're going to see from what's moving in from the west. Haven't seen that yet. So Grandview, we're still looking at the same area. It's been a while now. Looks like the latest scan came in and it looks to weaken a little bit, but we're still watching this specific area for hail, even up towards places south of Napoleon, closer to Lexington, which is a little bit newer, hasn't been moving over into this area quite yet. But south of Lexington, quarter-sized hail looks to be possible. As we mentioned, we've seen kind of the largest size of hail we have seen so far with this evening storm is ping-pong sized hail. So I do think that is a possibility along this line, but quarter to ping-pong size looks to be kind of where we've been situated. Mike?
I was just looking at that broad circulation over the area that you're showing. This is moving toward the radar. This is moving away. So there's a very large circulation over there, and that's probably why we're seeing the hail. Here's the latest scan. You can see it going. And so this circulation is coming between 435 and 470, Grandview, Lee Summit. This is Highway 50. So if anything, you're going to see some hail there as you've been showing you. But we'll keep an eye on this area for winds because, you're looking at that bright green. That's also an area that's got some pretty fast winds with it. That took the other thing. I apologize. But those look to be about 45, 50 mile per hour winds. So again, something to just keep an eye on as that goes through there is that large circulation. And it's so large, not worried about a tornado whatsoever with a circulation that big. Back to you.
We're going to get another check with Betsy, but I want to just kind of get you ahead of what the kind of latest update is now. There's been a new severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued for what we've been watching. Mike has been watching what's down towards the south. That main potential we've been watching is those gusty winds. It's kind of getting a little bit more of a bow on it. And by bow, kind of like a bow and arrow. Kind of think of it curved, likely indicating to us the stronger wind potential. This will continue for portions of Bass, Cass, Lynn, and Miami counties. That goes until 11:30. Keep in mind right now it's 10:50. We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts as a possibility. Heading towards Lacine, Mound City, there is the possibility of penny-sized hail with this as well. But because of the bowing kind of structure we're seeing with this, that's why it's more of that wind threat. So we're going to toss it out to Betsy. I hear she's seeing more ponding on the roadways, and then we'll get a track on this storm to the south.
But it's still quite a bit of rain coming down.
Hey guys, I just want to let you know we are on 435. We just crossed State Line Road heading east like we discussed to head towards Grandview, and along the way we have experienced some deteriorating road conditions. Right after we were on the air talking about the pea-sized hail, first of all, we heard a loud thunderclap, like the kind of thing you could feel in your chest. And now the visibility is just a teensy bit better than it was before, but the road conditions are worse. We are now experiencing enough water on the roadway that you can really feel that push under your tires, which is why we are only going 55 miles per hour on the interstate, because we don't want to come up on that water going fast and end up hydroplaning. So right now we're just feeling that push, but we are hitting some spots where it's heavier than others, where you get that drag under the tires. So that is something that people need to be aware of. If they're going to be on the road, it is time to start taking your speed down just a little bit, because you can start to experience that water on the roadway, and you really can't see it coming, partly because it's dark, but also because the rain is quite heavy, which is impacting visibility, and you may start to see some of that light. There you go, that lightning in the sky. And when you get one of those bright bursts of lightning, that also affects visibility. And it is certainly, if nothing else, fatiguing driving conditions. I certainly don't envy those folks in those semis up ahead of us who are going to have to be driving some of this and then driving continuously in the long haul, because it does a number on your eyes.
Thanks, Betsy. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there as well, taking it slow when you need to, too. I also wanted to get now another look at what's going on to the south. So the severe thunderstorm warning was just issued a few minutes ago. That includes portions of Bates, Cass, Lynn, Miami counties. It's that bowing kind of structure we've been watching building in from the west. It's now on our western counties. But this goes until 11:30. 60-mile-per-hour winds are the primary threat. So now with this kind of structure of the storm, it becomes more of a wind threat rather than hail, but there still is the possible for penny-sized hail. I wanted to kind of show you where we're seeing where the strongest winds would be when we look at our Doppler winds, and mainly the western side of Miami County. So take a look at Paola. We're starting to see some brighter greens show up. That indicates to us probably some stronger winds, and then down towards the south. As I mentioned, 60-mile-per-hour winds is what this storm is warned for. When we had queried it a little bit earlier, closer to that 60-mile-per-hour range too, but let's take a look. Around 54, 55 miles an hour, so that pretty much checks out. So you're likely, if you're living in Paola, if you're living a little bit more towards the west of there, if I zoom in, kind of on a closer look, Osawatomie likely seeing some stronger winds right now, almost towards Ringer. Going to start seeing some stronger winds start to kind of encroach on your area, and then eventually towards Paola. So the stronger winds are on the way from the structure of this storm. That's more likely what we're going to be seeing. Even brighter spots now trying to show up just west of Paola, closer to 58 miles per hour. So pretty much what the warning is giving us. I am going to put a track on this so we can see when the kind of leading edge is going to start to build into your area, because this is now, instead of what has been the entirety of this evening, mainly a hail threat, now we're looking more at strong winds starting to take over on the southern portion of our counties. And with this in particular, I'm going to use more of a different track. I did want to take a look to see what specifically the speed is, so I can get a little bit of a better reading. East at 50 miles an hour. So these are moving fast, moving faster. It's helping to push some of what has been that kind of line of storms parading on, moving through the area. Let me get it for 50 miles an hour quick. moving into Paola, likely as we speak now, seeing some gusty winds. We stretched this out where it's going next. 10:55 right now. It's 10:55 at Paola. So in Paola, likely seeing some stronger winds now, the onset of that Boeing segment moving in, and then heavier rain will start to take over by about 11:01, 6 minutes or so. Wagstaff 11:03 towards Mound City, which is on the southern end of that warning. Closer to 11:09, we're getting to around Lewisburg, Drexel, Amsterdam at 11:15. That's when you're going to see the onset probably of those gusty winds start to take over. And then further east, Harrisonville around 11:30. So right now it's around 10:55, so about 35 minutes on the kind of eastern edge from Harrisonville over towards Foster. So that's a track of where we're seeing more of that stronger wind potential. As I mentioned, this is where that is at as we look at it on radar. Once we start to get a lot of these, severe thunderstorm warnings and a lot going on, heavy rain, it's kind of be a little bit, gets pretty messy. So once again, south is where that new warning is. This kind of Boeing segment we're starting to watch, and maybe starting to lose a little bit of its Boeing, but overall, strong winds still the primary threat with this severe thunderstorm warning. The other severe thunderstorm warning, more that ping-pong sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So those are the two warnings we've got now, still parading storms up between I-35 and I-70. Some small hail still being, produced there. There are no severe warnings right now at this time in the northeastern counties, but maybe some small hail still being developed as a possibility, but heavy rain continues to be the case as this is lifting up towards the northeast. Now we think that with what's going on to the west, giving it a little bit more of a push to push out this line a little bit further towards the east and start to break up what we've been seeing, just training of storms over the same specific area. Mike?
We've got a KC Scout Cam I wanted to show you, and thanks to our producer, our director for noticing. He's noticing a lot of water here off the side. This is 435 near Unity. You can see this is the Pryor Road Blue Parkway exit. You're getting near East 50 heading to Sedalia. So it's this area where the heaviest of the rain just came through, and it looks like there's a little bit of standing water on the roads, but we're definitely noticing the outlets that are helping sweep away all that water from the roads are starting to fill up, and that's why we've got that urban flood warning for this particular area. Also, let me show you. See, that's the flood warning, and we're looking at this area right here. So you can see that it goes right up to that area. Expect flooding the next couple hours. This actually goes to 2:30 in the morning, but let me show you why we're seeing those areas that are specifically built to pull that water away from the streets so they don't flood, fill up. We're looking at radar estimates nearly 2 1/3 there. Go back towards Overland Park and 69 and Blue Ridge Parkway, 2.8, nearly 3 inches near Gardner. So that's why there's such a heightened state of the possibility of flooding in this area. This area is also going to lead into Tomahawk Creek and some other creeks. So let me look. The Missouri creeks are still doing fine. Tomahawk Creek is still at its extreme above average, but I'm not getting any reports of flooding out of that. Just looking to see the tornado watch is going to continue. Parts of it were just canceled. So there might be some good news. I'll work on that while you continue, or if you want to work on that, I'll continue to take a look at this. And just show everybody that, this is where the rain is, that heavy rain right here. This is where the warning is, the severe thunderstorm warning. Looks like the heaviest rain right now is just south of Paola. Let me see if there's any hail within this particular storm. It looks like it's more of a bow, so it's going to have more in the way of winds pushing through it more than anything else. That's what we're seeing as we turn a little bit deeper into the evening hours. And yeah, there you go. There's a little bit of hail out of that around Paola. So again, that's going to be mainly a wind event, and we're going to continue to watch that wind event. But I just wanted to show you that we're still in the flood threat. Even if the rain passes you, you are still in the flood threat for the next several hours because it's that long to take that water to make its journey from those ditches that are specifically there so the roads don't flood, but they dump into the creeks, and eventually the creeks are going to start to rise. So just want to let you know that the infrastructure that our government built is working in that area, and that's good news.
And Mike, too, we've got another chance for more rain to start to build in back. Of course, we're seeing that now, but even as we go into early Wednesday morning, too. So we're not entirely done with rain after this comes through. We still got what's coming in from the west and what's going to come in tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning won't be as robust as, of course, it was this evening, but we still have that potential for heavy rainfall. I wanted to give you an update on the tornado watch. Still, the counties highlighted in our orange continue in the tornado watch until midnight. But I did want to call out some of the counties that have been canceled. That is Lynn, Sullivan, Adair, as well as Clay counties have been taken out of that. And that's Clay County, Missouri, have been taken out of the tornado warning. So Brookfield, Downey, Excelsior Springs, Gladstone, Green City, Kearney, Kirksville, Lancaster, Liberty, as well as Milan and Queen City, which is a little bit further towards the northwest. But there has been some good news for some of us as we're starting to trim back the tornado watch now at this point. For the rest of us, we're going to continue to keep you updated on whether or not if there's any changes with the tornado watch as we continue to, diagnose and kind of show you what's going on radar. But as for now, the tornado watch continues until midnight tonight for those that are mainly to the southwest of the metro, still portions of the metro, and there are kind of core counties still included in this. But we're going to see if whether or not how much longer we continue to be in that tornado watch at this time. So a lot going on out there still. We've got the activity building in from the west. It's starting to really push what has already been out there for the last 2-ish hours now. So starting to see more widespread rain take over from Maryville all the way down to our southern counties. There is that severe warning that's down towards the south for our southern counties for 60-mile-per-hour winds. For the metro, there is portions of that under that severe thunderstorm warning for ping-pong-sized hail, and then also 60-mile-per-hour winds. But even as I've been looking closer at the hail tracker, specifically in that area, it doesn't look to be as much hail as it had been looking prior. So that is the good news there. So really the only spot right now we're seeing the possibility of hail, let me take off our lightning, would be east of Lee Summit towards Lake Lotawana and Lone Jack. Right now, looks like that would maybe be about half of an inch to an inch of hail, which is closer to penny to quarter-sized hail. So overall, comparatively to what we had saw maybe closer to around an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, looks like we're starting to see some improvements on the hail front, specifically in this severe thunderstorm warning that does include portions of the southern metro. But Lee Summit, Lake Lotawana could see some small hail, quarter-sized hail heading towards Lone Jack, and then lifting towards Grain Valley, Oak Grove again. Grain Valley, we're going to continue to watch this for you. It's lifting up towards the northeast. There may be some other areas that are off towards the east along that line that has a little bit of some small hail, but not enough to have the severe thunderstorm warning on it. So what's going on right now towards our southern counties is where we're seeing more of that severe wind threat with it. So Lacine, Mound City, starting to see the leading edge of that kind of Boeing segment. That's where we're looking at for the leading edge of the stronger winds to start to develop. We, have that 60-mile-per-hour wind gust probability, or chance, I should say. And we have been seeing some indications, at least on our radar, to see those stronger winds 55 plus miles per hour, which is in that severe, category. So just west of Lewisburg, east of Paola, where we're starting to see the stronger winds, the brightest green color right now, and around 56 miles per hour. So Lewisburg starting to get into some stronger winds down towards Lacine, not looking quite as strong, but still gusts possibly 30, 35 miles an hour look to be possible. So this is going to be moving towards Lewisburg, Drexel, Amsterdam here as we go through the next couple of minutes. But know that the primary threat with the storms down to the south now along the southern border are wind rather than hail. Penny-sized hail is still possible, but winds are going to be that primary threat. Mike?
Well, I know a lot of people, it's 11 o'clock. This is starting to slide a little bit south of the metro. You probably want to go to bed. You probably want us to tell you the all clear is out there, and we're getting close to that in the metro. I want to show you one of the things I've been looking at. It looks like the front is now well down to our south. Some of these storms that Melissa's been talking about are starting to lose a little bit of their punch because they're behind the front. So we're starting to see some movement. So I want to let you know that we still have that first warn. It continues through about 10 o'clock tomorrow. Let me show you exactly what we're looking at as far as the possibility of rain in the morning. We still have the threat of another one coming through. So let me close that. Let me open this so you can see this. And there we go. That's what we're dealing with right now. You can see that the model really doing a pretty good job right there. Initializing, it's 11 o'clock and it's kind of picking up on that severe storm right there that's falling apart. The stuff that's going to slide a little bit farther to the south that you just mentioned. So let me jump ahead to your morning commute. We're going to have some issues with this overnight. You remember the front was right here. So we're going to have a convergence line here. This is going to be the greatest threat at 1, 2, or 3 in the morning for flooding. So we're going to keep an eye on that, the I-70 corridor in Missouri. But as far as your morning commute, we get a little bit of a break, and then we've got these coming in. And what these are showers. It doesn't look like a great threat of thunder after 7 o'clock. These will be lighter showers. They will not be severe. But what they will do is if they fall on an area that had a lot of rain, they're going to exacerbate that or energize that. And we could have some ponding on the roadway. Expect your commute tomorrow morning to have a little bit of a challenge. Maybe get up a little bit early. Tune in to Taylor, Johnson, Luke Doris, Warren Sears, and they'll get you through that. But we think the morning commute will still be affected, not to this extent, but that's why we've got the first warn through about 10 o'clock. So looking forward, it's only going to get a little bit better, but by the time we wake up in the morning, it should be significantly better as far as the severe weather goes, but there still could be some localized flooding. Melissa?
The severe thunderstorm warning for portions of the southern metro has now lifted, so that's the good news there. But we keep the severe thunderstorm warning down towards the south. Paola, Racine, Mound City included in that. Gusty winds with that 60-mile-per-hour winds. But new is that flash flood warning back along I-35 that includes Douglas, Franklin, Osage counties continuing until 3 a.m. It appears as if there has been maybe 2.5 to 3 inches of rain that have already fallen. Additional amounts look to be possible. So flash flood warning continuing until 3 a.m. That does include portions of Ottawa back towards our kind of southwestern counties. If we zoom in, that is the continuation of the flash flood warning that we do have for portions of the southern metro. So myself, Mike are going to continue to be here as we continue with this threat. Our chief meteorologist, Luke Doris, is coming in early. The morning team will be in early to take care of you, make sure everybody is safe on their morning commute. But Mike and I continuing to watch the radars. But right now, we're going to go ahead and let you go. Of course, we'll bring you the latest information as we learn it or if anything changes on air, online, and on our streaming app.